Hi, everybody. I'm Chris Lyon. I'm with the Louisiana Film Prize 2016. I'm joined here today by a special guest, Austin Alward, who's directed the film Memorial Drive. He's also returning this year. Last year, he had a film called Honey in the Hive, which made it into the top 5. Thank you for joining us today, Austin.
Thank you, Chris. Good to be back.
Absolutely. Well, I wanted to kind of start off with just getting a little bit of information about you, where you're from, how you got involved with the Film Prize in the first place, and then we'll kind of talk about history and move on to the current project.
Sure. I mean, if you want to reach back that far, I grew up in rural southern Indiana. My mom's from France, and my dad's a Hoosier. I went to film school at the University of Wisconsin and ended up moving all around doing camera work. Started in France and then out to LA and then to Louisiana about a month before Katrina. I moved to Louisiana.
That's some
and I've been here, some interesting timing, to New Orleans. And I've been here ever since. Found out about the Film Prize by happenstance. I was up in Shreveport, I guess it's been 2 years ago now, working as a camera assistant on a movie called I Saw the Light, Hank Williams biopic, and found out from the local crew there that there was this cool event called the Louisiana Film Prize. And you could make a short film with your friends and compete. So we said, we had such a great experience in Shreveport on I Saw the Light. We said, sure, we'll come back and make a short movie. And that was how we kind of learned how to do the Film Prize. And then last year, when we made the top 20, we were just blown away by how well the whole thing's run. And we couldn't really be kept away to try to come and win it again this year.
Well, we're really glad to have you back. We're really lucky to have you back. And it's interesting to see people from outside of the region, and certainly in the state in your case, make their home here as a filmmaker. What kind of comes into your calculus when you are looking for a place to call home?
It's a good question. For me, it kind of, regardless of what your line of work is, if you find a place that you really connect to on kind of a visceral, heart-based level, that's not a very common thing. And when I first visited New Orleans, growing up in southern Indiana with a French mom, it was like the closest melting pot of what I came from. It's Frenchness and sort of normal people. It's not like an LA kind of giant market for the film industry anyway. And so I moved here and the film incentive system just sort of took off, and the work just, I didn't have to travel for work. It's been amazing. And now we're going through a downturn, which I know Shreveport got ahead of that downturn in terms of the work sort of peaking and then tapering off. So we're losing a lot of really good crew, which is something we're trying to curb the tide of that. And so the Film Prize, whether you guys have done it intentionally or not, is one of the strongest voices for Louisiana-based independent filmmaking. And you have this incredible crew base that over the last decade, some of the best grips, electrics, makeup people in the whole world are based in Louisiana. And a lot of them are looking for an excuse to stay. So we're going to try to create a little production model that gives people the opportunity to stay, that don't want to move to Atlanta or, chase the work to the next incentive state. Right
on. Let's talk a little bit about, just very briefly, about what you've been doing with Honey in the Hive since you left Film Prize. I know you've been playing all over the place. What are the plans currently? And then we'll jump into Memorial Drive after that.
Yeah. We had to get new cards made because of all the laurels. A lot of them thanks to you guys. It's done well on the festival circuit. We haven't won any prizes really, but it's played, strangely enough, it's done pretty well at like children's film festivals. We started targeting at what we applied to, and it did really well at a children's film festival in Spain. And then it was just at Holly Short, so thanks to you guys with that relationship there. And the little girl, Clay, that plays the main character, she just moved to LA, so she was able to go and see it at the Chinese Theater, and that was a really exciting moment for her. So we love that movie. I mean, it was sort of the beginning of something really, really valuable for me and my wife and the core sort of group of friends that participated on it. And we kept with as many of those same people as we could for this year.
So let's talk about this year. Let's talk about Memorial Drive. So Memorial Drive isn't actually the only film that you did this year. So tell us a little bit about the production coming back this year. Memorial Drive, of course, and then you can talk about The Rat a little bit if you want to. I'd love to hear how the whole process went for you wanting to try to get 2 films in and all that.
Yeah, we were hoping to be the first to sort of break that barrier. It's like the 4-minute mile, get 2 movies in 1 year. But we had considered doing it the first year because it's such a huge amount of activation energy to get the gear and the people together to shoot one short, and the insurance package is basically based on a time window. So why not, if you're going to get everybody together, shoot a couple? And so this year we kind of hit the ground running a little bit better. And so we made 2, 3 days on Memorial Drive, and then 3 days on this little comedy called The Rat, which I wanted to try acting again in a movie, not only just to sort of have fun with it, but because as you move toward directing actors, you're asking people to put themselves out there emotionally and to sort of explore a lot of maybe uncharted territory with an actor and a director. And if you've never been in that seat, I feel like your relationship to it's a little different. So I really wanted to try it so that I could then kind of get back into what it's like to be on the other side of the camera. And it was a lot of fun. It's something I used to do as a kid, and was very upset with my parents when I was like 8 years old that they wouldn't take me to New York to get an agent.
Yeah.
But in the end, I like the storytelling more. Being on camera is a really valuable experience, I think, for any director to do. And you just sort of let go of your own personality, and you get to sort of inhabit another character, and it's really kind of liberating, and it can be a lot of fun. So, so we tried both. We worked with the same team on both. We just rolled from 3 days right into the next 3 days, and shot kind of all over Shreveport, down along Texas Street for Memorial Drive, and at the Crystal Stairs restaurant, which is right there on the corner. And then our focus puller, Rai Kawanaka, and his wife, Madeline, were kind enough to let us shoot the second short in their house. So, kept it all in the family.
That's awesome. Let's turn to the focus now to Memorial Drive. Tell us a little bit about what it's about. Mm-hmm. It's certainly a film with a message, but it's also a bit of a mystery. Not sure if I would call it a thriller, but it's kind of has thriller elements in it to a certain degree. Mm-hmm. But let's talk about that. Let's talk about what the film is and what it's about.
Okay. Well, I have to be careful with the spoilers. I don't want to give it away. There's several reveals in the movie that it was really fun to figure out how to layer those onto each other. We wanted to make a movie that is suspenseful.
Suspense is really what I was thinking of.
Yeah, that basically gets you in a very clear and identifiable situation with your character that then he's actively trying to get out of, and in the process of this sort of plot-driven situation, you have these layers that are essentially coming back from his past. And I guess in a nutshell, the movie is about a World War II vet who's held hostage in a self-driving car. That's the basic premise. But then the who and the why you discover throughout I think it's 11.5-minute long movie, and it's based on true events that growing up, certainly in the Midwest, I don't know if, you know, history books are different in other parts of the country, but there's some stories about World War II that I certainly never heard even anything remotely touching on these stories. And when I married my wife, she grew up in a farming community in Normandy. And so her parents and grandparents, or grandparents lived through it, and her parents have really treasure troves of stories about what it was like to be on the liberated side. And, you know, they're all very pro-American in many ways, but for them, the way the war went down was a lot more gray than it is for us. And there were some things that happened between American soldiers and French women in particular that don't really get talked about in America, but I think are really important things for people to understand about the human element of war, what it puts your soldiers, the situations it puts them into, and the kind of expectations we give those soldiers. So the poster is kind of an attempt to get at some of the propaganda imagery of World War II, because a lot of these young American soldiers were basically told they would get to France and the French women would be very, very happy to see them. And some of them were, and some of them maybe weren't quite so happy, but the Americans didn't take no for an answer. So our story is based on some heavy stuff, but it's not an expose at all. Our main actor was kind of concerned about being involved in a movie that was maybe could be seen as un-American, and I had to assure him that this is a very patriotic movie because it's about making the most of your mistakes, even though if you had to go back and do over, sometimes the situation was so difficult you might not have done it differently, but it's how we live with those mistakes and what we do with those mistakes that makes us, I think, more complete and interesting people, and certainly in a movie, interesting characters. And so the movie leads the main character to a situation where he can make a choice to do essentially the right thing or to hide behind the image of a war hero.
Yeah, well, it really is a touching, approach to the, like you said, it's heavy subject material. So, but you guys handled it really well, and I, for a film of this kind of topic, there are some technical challenges that you guys had to overcome. I know that getting a car to look like it's self-driving can be difficult if it's not a self-driving car, so why don't you talk a little bit? I also want to talk about the actors, but I want to get this technical bit kind of
the technical bit again. I mean, my hat goes off to the crew there in Shreveport. We were so fortunate to have our key grip is named Ted Sapp. He's the key grip on Salem, and his guys, they basically built a small process trailer, and we were able to just kind of hide the fact that there was no driver in a combination of shots on a trailer where you can see through the empty driver's seat, and then a really limber stunt driver who was able to fold himself out of the shot.
Well, I was going to ask because there's a particularly convincing moment where, and I apologize if this is a moment, I'm going to try to keep it as vague as possible, where you're outside the car looking in, and you see kind of the car, not in its entirety, but certainly the entire passenger compartment. And it, I just kept thinking to myself, well, could it be on a trailer? But it certainly doesn't look like it's on a trailer,
Where you see it from the passing vehicle's point of view?
Yes.
Yeah, it's on a trailer.
Really?
Yeah, it's just good. It's just good framing.
That's great. I really did think that when you said something about the guy folding up, I was like, yeah, that's the shot that he used it in, because I thought for sure, I was like, that was really risky. I wonder how they did that, but I'm glad you had it on a trailer.
Yeah, no, they were, and it was great. The trailer was so narrow that when we got the van on there, we couldn't open the sliding doors because they come out like 9 inches and then slide back. so everybody had to go in and out through the tailgate.
Oh, wow.
But it went great, and we learned a lot. I really, because I'm a camera assistant and operator more and more on just regular movies, and we do a lot of car work, and almost all of the car work is either locked down on a mount outside the car or handheld or locked down inside the car. And we really wanted to explore a camera that's free to move around inside of the vehicle. And I think we scratched the surface, and there's some really cool shots. I would love the opportunity to do more of that, because I think it really opens up that space where it's not just an A to B space. And for this story, it's kind of, this guy's trapped inside of this vehicle. It's his own sort of space pod in a way. And he tries everything he can. There's no getting out of it. And I wanted to feel like, you know, you could try to look up, down, left, right. You can try to move around. You can't get out.
Yeah. That reminds me of the famous kind of Children of Men car scene where they've got they tried to explore that space of putting a camera in and moving around, and there was an infinitely more complicated, of course, and probably way more expensive. But
ours was a slider, and
so let's talk about the actors that you brought in. I mean, where did you find them? I mean, I know Rod. I'm friends with Rod, but I'd love to know kind of how you stumbled into knowing these people and how you brought them into the fold.
Well, one of the great things, and this kind of, I had to do a year of Film Prize to sort of get up to speed on what the kinds of things you can do with a short film. And one of them for me, with the goal of going toward, longer form stuff, is you can use it as a way to test not only working with certain people, but also the mechanisms by which you get something made. And so this year I decided, well, why don't, instead of me casting my friend's daughter and my friend's mom, like in Honey in the Hive, let's talk to a casting director and show them the script. And so, again, every time we've tried to reach out to somebody who knows anything about the Film Prize, they stop what they're doing and say, what can we do? And so Brent Caballero's like, this sounds awesome. I have like 5 people in mind. And we narrowed it down to an actor named Jerry Leggio, who's based in Baton Rouge. And he was incredible. And the more I've gotten to know Jerry, the more I couldn't have picked a better guy for the role or to just be involved with as a filmmaker in Louisiana. Because without Jerry, we wouldn't probably even have had a film office that led to the tax incentives that have created Hollywood South.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to also talk about the post-production process, what you've been doing since you turned in your rough cut. I mean, of course, all the films were in a rough cut form, and I know you were kind of coming in at the 11th hour a little bit.
Doesn't everybody come in at the 11th hour?
Everybody comes in at the 11th hour every year.
Yeah,
but, that's not true.
Yeah.
There are people that do take the initiative and jump earlier, but I know that's not.
I am proud of those people.
Yeah, yeah, me too. So let's talk about your post-production process. Getting the film or the films down to time, to getting them in, and what you've been doing since the announcement.
So I guess I should mention the other actor in the film leads us into the post-production. She is not an actress, the woman you see on the monitors inside the van. That was another thing, just technical note.
Oh, right.
We didn't shoot any green screen at all, and no green screen monitors. All the monitors are shot live. So our actress, who's not an actress, is a French woman who's a tour guide in New Orleans, and I just think has this great look, and she lived through the war. We wanted somebody with that personal connection, but the delivery of the lines and the accent and everything were not quite actorly enough. So what we ended up doing is putting a microphone in front of her so that she could sort of speak freely and move with the character. And then this morning at 3 a.m., 10 a.m. Paris time, I had a most amazing 3-hour transatlantic Skype recording session with a friend in a recording studio in Paris and an actress who does a ton of voice work. who's actually the mother-in-law of the father in Honey in the Hive. So we did still pull from Friends.
Still, yeah.
And she did an incredible job. And it was such a technological, it was so seamless. And so I sat and directed, and she did all the text. And that's been kind of the big missing piece. Yesterday was a huge day for us, actually. In the morning, John Boutte, the singer, New Orleans-based singer, who he has one of his songs is in the opening credits of Treme, the show, HBO show.
Yeah.
He's a vet. Every man apparently in his family has been in the service. And when we talked to him about the movie and the song, there's a Ray Charles rendition of America the Beautiful at the end of the rough cut. So we wanted to do our own version of that. And John Boutte was like, absolutely, I'll do it. So yesterday we recorded John Boutte's America the Beautiful for Memorial Drive, and we got our French actress dialogue in, and we should be dropping on those elements and getting final color and getting you a final film by the deadline.
That's awesome. I can't wait to hear that rendition. It certainly comes up, because for anybody listening in who isn't familiar, part of the rules for the film prize is having the rights to everything that's in your film. Of course, that's just good etiquette in general, but we do require it. So we were wondering how you were going to pull off getting the rights to the Ray Charles rendition of that song. But to hear that you guys are cutting a new piece with a vet, in Louisiana is really something else.
Yeah, and he's interested in coming up for the festival, so we're going to keep working that angle. Maybe he'll play a little show at Crystal Stairs.
That would be really cool. I know that I owe you some stuff from that. I'm just remembering, so I apologize. I need to get you some of those things.
Okay.
But so you are maybe doing some music. What are you looking forward to in terms of the festival this year?
I'd like to get there in time to catch some of the music prize, because last year we were scrambling to build our whole installation for the film prize with that bus, that's giant bumblebee bus.
Right.
And so this year, I think we learned a lot from effective ways to promote your movie, and I want to be able to kind of enjoy what other people have put time and energy into a little bit more this year. And, it's become kind of like a family reunion place for us now. Instead of Thanksgiving getting together, we get together in Shreveport with family to see the movies. So I'm looking forward to, connecting with all my family from Texas who's going to come in again this year, and seeing, hopefully, from everything I can tell from what you guys have been posting and the other filmmakers have been posting, the bar has been raised even higher this year, and so I expect there to be some really incredible movies.
I would agree with you, and I think that, to me, one of the things that's most interesting is how well people are working on marketing their films ahead of time this year, which really brings an awareness not just to their film but to the festival as a whole. Of course, the other films, the music, and everything. And I'm really jealous that I don't get to attend this thing because I would love to sit back one year and just consume.
Yeah. Well, thanks you guys. I mean, we can't thank you enough as filmmakers. The heart and commitment that's put into this event, and I haven't been to all the big festivals, but it's hard to imagine anybody wanting it to be more of a success than you guys seem to want it to be. I mean, 24 screenings of your movie in 2 days. I think our Honey in the Hive definitely screened more at the film prize than all the other festivals combined. And that's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, it's good. You don't make a film for it to sit in a closet. You make it to show people and for people to see it. And so certainly, it helps that we only have 20 films, and it helps that it's required as a part of the process. But all of that adds up to is thousands of people seeing your movie, which we love to see people doing. So
yeah, well, thank you.
So I wanted to just give you the opportunity to add anything if you thought we maybe missed something that you wanted to touch on.
No, I'm looking forward to coming and meeting some of the people that I met last year and have kept in touch with, and seeing what they've come up with this year, and and seeing you and just being there again for what was an incredible weekend last year, and I have every reason to believe it will be even more incredible this year.
That's awesome. Well, thanks so much for taking the time out to chat with us today. I was looking on, and hadn't had any questions come up yet, but if there are in the afternoon, maybe you can jump on and we can kind of get some answers to those people through text on the internet.
Oh, sure.
But for those who don't know, the Film Prize is September 29th through October 2nd. The 29th is the opening party and Louisiana Music Prize event, and then Friday, Saturday, the film show, and then on the Sunday is the awards brunch, which we're all kind of waiting for to see who wins this year. But come on down. Tickets are available at lafilmprize.com. Check out Music Prize, check out Food Prize, check out Film Prize. It's going to be great. And thanks so much again, Austin, for joining us today.
Thank you. See you in Shreveport.
Take care.
Bye, you too.